By lunchtime, Skeets had built 3 burly snowmen, and he went to count how many the little green man had completed. To his amazement, the little green man had built lots and lots, and had stopped to watch some men trying to dig a bus out of deep snow. The bus was full of children, and Skeets explained to the little green man that they were all going to a party in the next village. "Oh, they'll be so disappointed if they're not able to get there," he said. The men dug and dug, but the bus made no progress. The snow seemed now to be falling as fast as the men were clearing it. The little green man watched and watched, hoping every time they tried starting the bus up that it would chug away down the road. But the men seemed to be getting very tired and were inclined to give up. "Can you do anything, Greenie?" asked Skeets. The little green man looked very thoughtful, and suddenly he bounced to his feet and turned to the little army of snowmen he had made. He cried, which meant, "Better than me helping, why don't they help?" "What do you mean?" asked Skeets. "How can men made of snow do anything to help?" said the little green man, which meant, "Watch this." He turned to the nearest snowman and produced his antennae, from which there came a spark and a crackle. The snowman magically turned into a real man and set off jauntily down the lane towards the bus. Turning to the second snowman, he did the same thing again, and another little man was soon on the heels of the first. Then the third, and the fourth, and the fifth, and soon a whole army of helpers were picking up shovels to dig out the children's bus. "Don't forget my 3, cried the delighted Skeets when the little green man had dispatched the last of his snowmen down the lane, and the little green man soon had them following the others. The 3 friends sat and watched as the snowmen threw all the snow into piles at the side of the road. And it seemed no time at all before the driver was ready to try again. He started up the bus, and to the loud cheers of the children, it began slowly to make its way along the road. "Thank you! Thank you!" cried the children from the windows to the snowmen. Hands were waving everywhere. The snowmen began plodding up the lane again and took their places where they had been before. Before long, every snowman was in his place. "Swallow, swallow," said the little green man. "Thank you, snowman," he said. "Yes, thank you very much," said Skeets. "The children would never have got to their party without your help." The little green man's antennae appeared again, and they sparked and crackled in the direction of the snowmen. Zoom Zoom had somehow got into the line of fire, however, and the little green man's magical rays seemed to chase him about. He suddenly ducked into a huge pile of snow, and the rays then went where they were supposed to go, to the snowmen, who were all standing chuckling at poor old Zoom Zoom. They were soon exactly as they had been before, plain, ordinary snowmen, though Zoom Zoom was certain that one particular snowman now had a smile he had not had before. "Thank you for all your help, Greenie," said Skeets. "It was all your doing, really." The little green man had put on Skeets' skates and was hobbling over to the pond. "Careful, Greenie," called Skeets. But the little green man turned and waved in a very confident manner. He launched himself onto the pond, and oh dear, after the most spectacular performance, he sat down with a sudden and undignified plop. Skeets tried hard to hide a grin, though Zoom Zoom hooted with laughter. said the little green man. Well, really. The little green man and Zoom Zoom had a wonderful time at the air display with Skeets. Of course, the aeroplanes all seemed very old-fashioned to the little visitor from out of space, and the little green man did his best to explain to Skeets that aircraft were very different where he came from. Skeets was, as you might imagine, very impressed by the little green man's stories. While they were waiting for the last event of the day, a balloon flight, Zoom Zoom amused the little green man and Skeets by doing his impressions of the aeroplanes they'd been watching, which they thought was great fun. The balloon flight fascinated the little green man and Zoom Zoom, for they'd never seen anything quite like that before. They watched in rapture until the balloon was out of sight and the display was at an end. As they walked away from the field, passing the tea shop, they saw a man selling balloons. Said the little green man. Please, may I have a balloon, Skeets? I've a lovely idea. Skeets took the little green man across to the balloon seller and bought him a lovely big red balloon. The little green man's eyes twinkled as he searched Skeets's picnic basket for something else. You'll soon see, he said, producing a beaker with a thick ridge round the top. He tied the string from the balloon round the beaker and set it on the ground, the balloon resting on the top of the beaker. The little green man's antennae began to spark and crackle as he pointed them towards the balloon. And it began to grow and grow. So did the beaker, and soon they had a beautiful flying balloon, just like the one they'd been watching a little. Come on, get in, cried the little green man, lifting Zoom Zoom into the beaker, which was now big enough for them all to get inside. I've worked out how to make it go. It'll be quite safe. Here goes. With everyone inside the beaker, and the little green man's magic power in action again, the balloon began to rise. Soon they were floating along, looking down on the hills, the fields, and the streams. Oh, this is wonderful, Greenie, said Skeets. It all looks so beautiful and so peaceful from up here. The little green man and Zoom Zoom were greatly enjoying it too, with the little green man giving off a crackle or two each time he wanted to change direction. They drifted out over the lake and began to watch the only boat sailing about on it. Zoom Zoom kept forgetting they were at a great height, and every now and then, when he stopped and thought about it, he plopped down magnificently like a stone. There was a man and a woman with 2 children aboard the little craft on the lake, and they all waved at Skeets as the balloon flew over them. Since no one except Skeets and us can see the little green man and Zoom Zoom, they must have wondered what a small boy was doing flying a balloon all by himself. They drifted further over the lake and in between the hills, but there were no other boats out sailing that day. After a while, Skeets became aware that Zoom Zoom was not in sight, and he asked the little green man if he knew where he was. No, said Greenie, becoming quite puzzled. I'm sure he can take care of himself, but it is certainly puzzling how he can hide from us in a balloon. Mischievous Zoom Zoom joined the others, and they drifted happily on for some time before Skeet said to the little green man, "Oh, let's turn back now, Greenie. It'll soon be supper time." The little green man twitched his antennae, and the balloon gently turned and headed back down the center of the lake again. They were all watching carefully for the family in the boat as they skimmed along back to the airfield, and it was the little green man who saw them first. He cried in alarm. "Look, their boat is overturned and is sinking. They're all clinging to the bottom of their upturned yacht." Skeets bounced up and down with agitation. "Do something, Greenie! Please, do something!" he shouted. And the antennae of the little green man's head began to spark and crackle as they'd never sparked and crackled before. They zoomed along at a great speed, just above the level of the water, until they came to a stop alongside the family on the sinking boat. "Climb aboard!" shouted Skeets, remembering that they could only see him aboard the balloon. "Oh, how wonderful!" cried the man as he passed his children aboard the balloon before clambering up himself. "Our boat capsized, and we thought we were done for," he said. "How can we ever thank you?" But Skeets was so delighted with the rescue that he had no thought of thanks. Besides, how could he explain that it was the little green man who'd saved them, really? He watched the little green man steer the balloon away and across the lake to the landing stage, where people were already beginning to gather, wondering what had become of the family who had set sail in the small boat. They arrived safely and climbed out, telling the people how wonderfully they had been rescued by Skeets in his balloon, while the little green man made ready for a quick takeoff before the curious people had time to start asking questions. Skeets quickly said goodbye to the grateful family, who were now wrapped in blankets to keep them warm. Everyone waved as the balloon smoothly took off again, the little green man and Zoom Zoom being quite invisible to the onlookers, of course. And there was no time at all before it was a mere speck in the distance. They circled the airfield before going into land, noticing that all the people who'd been at the air display had now gone home. Stepping out of the beaker, Skeet said, "Thank you, Greenie. That was really terrific. Oh, I had a lovely time. We really must do it again sometime." The little green man and Zoom Zoom jumped out, and the little green man at once produced his antennae to return the balloon and the beaker to their normal sizes. His antennae made their usual crackling noise as the balloon and beaker began to shrink, and very soon all was done. Skeets packed the beaker away in his picnic basket, holding the red balloon in his other hand. "Did you enjoy it, Zoom Zoom?" Zoom Zoom nodded vigorously and did a couple of circular zooms. He then leapt up and planted a big kiss on the balloon, which at once burst and began flying around the little green man's head, much to his bewilderment and discomfort. With one last gasp, which it gave right in front of the little green man, the balloon fell limply to the ground. Skeets and Zoom Zoom howled with delight at the sight of the little green man in such a tiz. "Said the little green man. "Well, really." Skeets had just finished reading Alice Through the Looking Glass to the little green man and Zoom Zoom, and Green